Hi, my name is Cam Mears. I'm a music education major with a vocal concentration, and this is my final presentation. So, in Martin Luther King's Strength to Love book, I was assigned chapter 9, and I really enjoyed reading what Dr. King had to say in this chapter. He talked about living a complete life and how that includes balancing your life between your own needs, the needs of others, and your relationship with God. And he says that if one is out of whack, then the rest will be. And I think that it's really important to have a balance in your life where you're focusing your own needs with other people's needs and your religion, if that's something that's in your life, so that they're all a part of what makes you you and you're not leaving something out. In the case studies book, I learned a lot about multiculturalism and how I can include it in my classroom. I learned that it can be taught through many different mediums, from math lessons to English class and anything in between. And I also learned that social change can start in the classroom by addressing your students' questions, teaching them something about how the world works, and allowing them to teach you as well. In the human relations textbook, I learned a lot about communication as well as conflict. Everybody communicates differently, and everybody has different expectations about how communication should go. So it's important to remember that to avoid miscommunications and to address miscommunications as they come up. I also learned that conflict can be an important thing and that we should embrace it, as it can encourage growth when you're approaching it from a place where you're listening to the other person or other entity that you're having the conflict with. So in the first article that I read for this class, it was called Music Teachers' Attitudes Towards Transgender Students and Supportive School Practices. And this article was about research done on the attitudes of music educators towards transgender students and towards school support services for transgender students. They found that most music teachers generally have a positive attitude towards transgender students and the services in place for them. And this is consistent with findings that they have done in research on other groups of teachers, but it does show a disparity between statistics on teachers harassing transgender students. It seems that most transgender students face microaggressions and harassment from teachers when they are in school, which doesn't line up when you see that most teachers say that they support transgender students. So either they aren't practicing what they preach, or they're being silent when they see other teachers doing things that they should not be, and saying things they shouldn't be saying to trans kids. There's a possible bias in this study in the sense that it was a sample where the subjects volunteered to take the quiz, which can be a problem because people with lukewarm feelings about transgender students might not have taken it because they didn't have much to say. But overall, I felt that it was very showing that while most teachers have a positive attitude, it doesn't seem that that's translating so much in the school system. The second article that I read was called Perspectives of a Transgender Music Education Student. And this was research done on one single transgender student. They called him Joseph. And they did research on him through interviews and journal entries. The data was analyzed by patterns and keywords that Joseph said during the course of this data collection, so that they could come up with 6 main themes from his experience as a trans kid. Joseph was able to fact check the entire study as it went along to make sure that everything was factually sound and that it actually aligned with his experience. The only bias is that this research can only apply to a single individual. You can't apply it to others, but I still think there's value. These were the first half of the 6 main themes. I'm not going to read it because that would be redundant, but I am just going to say that I think it is really valuable to research and spread the experience of one single individual, because it's easier to put yourself in the shoes of one person rather than a group of data points. And so that can inspire empathy in a more meaningful way. If you want to pause to see the rest of the main themes, go ahead. So to continue my personal learning about the differences in other people, I'm going to continue to seek out literature, podcasts, and experiences, stories from people that are different than me. I want to do this because I think it's important to hear about experiences that are different than mine, and also find ways and listen to ways in which I can better support different individuals. I will also continue to watch what I think and what I say, so that I know I'm being respectful to people different than me and people in minority groups that I'm also part of. In my future classroom, I want to encourage an open dialogue between my students and I, which means letting them know that I'm open to feedback and that I respect their opinions. I also want to include music from diverse cultures. I want to make sure that I'm not just representing like the classical white man composer in my classroom. I want to make sure that my students are performing a wide range of music. And I want to make sure that I'm teaching them about that music as we're performing it. I want to also have discussions on musical contributions from minorities. For example, Aaron Copland was a gay man in a time where it was really hard to be a gay man. And I think it's important to have discussions about what that meant for him and what that means in his music, and make sure that we're performing music like that as well. And I want to make sure that when we're performing music that's from a different culture than what we might be used to, that I am encouraging and I'm teaching them how to perform that music in a way that's true to how it should be performed, that's true to the style, it's stylistically correct, because it's often easy to whitewash various cultural music, but it's important to make sure that it is being performed in a way that the composer or culture that it's from would have wanted it to be performed. So these are my references. Thank you.